Okay, you can make a start now, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for inviting me to talk tonight. Yeah, I'm Andrew Whitehouse. I'm from Bug Life, the Invertebrate Conservation Trust, and I'm our country's manager, but I also lead our work in the Southwest, and I live in Plymouth, so I spend a lot of time on the South Devon coast. This evening, I'm going to talk to you about some of the incredible insects we find on the coast. So South Devon is home to some of the UK's most amazing insects. It really is. Unfortunately, many of these insects are also our most threatened. And tonight I'm going to introduce you to some of these special creatures. Some of them you may already be familiar with. Some of them you may never have seen before or never knowingly seen before. But hopefully by the end, many of the rare and threatened invertebrates are the nature of these cliffs and the slopes and the influence of the weather creates wildflowers. And because the South Devon coasts are generally south-facing, they can get extra warm, which means they are particularly important for a whole range of invertebrate species. And there are some other features as well, like some of the wet features, like seepages and small kind of pools and things, which also support different invertebrates. So we have insects with aquatic stages in their life cycle, like water beetles, like some crane flies and soldier flies. And these wet bits also provide wet muds, which can be used by certain species of bees and wasps to construct their nests. So that's a quick run through some of the important habitats and why the South Devon coast is important. But of course, you want to meet some of the species, and I want to tell you about some of the species. So I'm going to tell you about some of the species which South Devon is particularly important for their conservation, but also many of these species are the species that we are going to be working on in the Life on the Edge project. So as I said, the cliffs are really important for a whole load of bees which will burrow into the cliff face. The vertical or cliff faces or the slopes are burrowed into. The bees dig their nest burrows into the cliff face, and in the nests, in the burrows, they will construct cells, and within those cells they'll lay an egg, and they'll also put a store of nectar and pollen that they've collected from the flowers. So the bees need somewhere to dig their nests, and they also need the flowers to forage from. And so you need both of these things in the same place. Here's one of the kind of real highlights of the South Devon coast. This is a longhorned mining bee, Eucera longicornis. It's quite a distinctive bee. It's one of our larger mining bees. And you'll notice something strange about this species it's got incredibly large antennae. Now it's only the males which have these crazy long antennae, and this is the only species in this country which has such ridiculous antennae as well. So it's something you can readily identify when you're out and about walking along the coast. South Devon represents a regional stronghold for the species. And it's nests in the cliff face and forages on mainly from flowers in the pea family on the cliff top. So things like birdsfoot trefoil. Crawl Point's a very good place to go and see these. You get down there in June. Now, there's a whole load of other mining bees, as I said, which do a similar thing, nesting in the cliffs and the slopes, foraging on those wild flowers which are present in decent abundance along the coast. Things like the hawksbeard mining bee, which does exactly what it says on the tin. It forages generally on lion-looking things. We have the black mining bee, really handsome-looking beast, and the orange-footed furrow bee. Now, South Devon has a vast array of different bee species, probably more than most parts of the country. It's one of the most important parts of the country for bee conservation. So there are hundreds and hundreds of species. These are just a few examples. Not on the cliff slopes, but on the coast. This is an interesting beast. This is the water droplet mining bee, Andrena ampler. And there's a regionally important population of this round at Slapton. And this bee is strongly associated with hemlock water droplet. It's not just bees burrowing and taking advantage of holes. There are lots of solitary wasps which will nest in the cliffs as well. Extinction, and it is one species that we really hope that we can turn around its fortunes through life on the edge. So what this bee does, it goes in and it lays its egg inside the nest of another bee. It's put there for its own young. So the host, you remember that the bee I showed you with the long antennae. So all of the species I'm going to show you now do a similar kind of a trick. So they will sneak into the nests of mining bees and lay their eggs in there. It is left there for its own. So this is another cuckoo bee. This is the red-tailed blood bee, Sphacodes rubicundus, and this does the same thing. So this sneaks into the nest of a host species. It will quite often break into those nest cells and destroy the egg of the host and lay its own egg in there. And it's once its larva hatches, it will eat the nectar and pollen that the bee has left there. Really good looking, smart looking bee, this. Now, it's not just bees that pull off this trick. There are beetles as well. So this is an oil beetle. This is a black oil beetle, and you've probably seen these along the South Devon coast, especially this time of year. This black oil beetle is active from kind of mid-February till about now, and these rely on mining bees as well. So the females will lay hundreds and hundreds of eggs. The eggs will hatch, and these squiggling, squirming larvae will hatch out, and they'll climb up flower stems and sit on the flower head. And they'll wait there until a bee visits the flower. And when a bee visits a flower, they will jump on the bee's back. And the larvae have these interestingly shaped hooked feet, which are perfectly designed to hang on to the hair of a bee. The poor unsuspecting bee will take the larva back to its own burrow. The larva will hop off, and there it will feed on the bee's egg, the bee's nectar and pollen store, and it will pupate and turn into an adult beetle. So it sounds a bit gruesome, but seeing these beasts present on the South Devon coast is a good indication of a healthy environment, healthy habitat. So the black oil beetle is found along most of the coast in South Devon, but there are a couple of extremely rare oil beetles that we find down here as well. This is the short-necked oil beetle. This is Meloe brevicollis. This was thought to be extinct in the UK, so it hadn't been seen since 1948. It was rediscovered in 2007. And it was rediscovered here in South Devon between Bolt Head and Bolt Tail. Bob Heckford is a person who found this species, and it was a real, absolutely amazing revelation to find that this species was still persisting in South Devon. But it doesn't stop there. This is another oil beetle that was missing in action. So this hadn't been recorded in the UK for over 100 years. This is the Mediterranean oil beetle, Meloe mediterraneus. It was recorded in Kent in 1906, and then it wasn't seen again until it was rediscovered by John Walters in South Devon in 2012. And it was pretty much the same site as that other oil beetle, the short-necked one. So it was found between Bolt Head and Bolt Tail. But the fact that you get these extremely rare or beetles that were thought to be extinct on the South Devon coast goes to show how important it really is in a national context for the conservation of rare insects. A mention for bee flies. So bee flies also lay their eggs in the nest of bees. They do a good trick in that they will flick their eggs into the nest burrows. Amazing trick. You've probably seen these in your garden in the spring. Most likely a related species called the dark-edged bee fly. This is the dotted bee fly, so different species. This is rare, a rarer species. This is Bombilius discolor, so the dotted bee fly. It's very distinctive. It's got these lovely wings. Bee flies have got this, they're kind of cute. They've kind of got these fluffy bodies. They've got this terrifying looking thing that sticks out the front of their face, this proboscis. But of course, this isn't a stinger. It's nothing to be scared of. This allows the bee fly to drink nectar from deep flowers. And you'll see them feeding on nectar on primroses and things at this time of year. So, as I said, all of these animals which lay their eggs in the nest of mining bees, they're found here because the mining bee population is strong enough or robust enough to support all of these usurpers. So the mining bees need the nesting areas, and they need the nectar and pollen provided by those wild flowers. And the nest parasites, the oil beetles, the cuckoo bees, the bee flies, they need the mining bees. And so, you know, the nature of these insects is extremely intricately connected. Let's have a look at some more fabulous flies, because I really think that flies just don't get enough attention, right? We talk about bees a lot, but what about the flies? There's a couple of flies that we will be working on through Life on the Edge. And again, it's because we have these because South Devon is particularly important for their conservation. This is a real beast, a magnificent beast, the hornet robber fly, Bacillus crabroniformis. It's the UK's largest fly, and it's a predator. It lays its eggs in dung. So one of the reasons why this has declined, so it's quite thin on the ground, this species, and getting thinner, we suspect. One of the reasons for its decline is thought to be the use of livestock treatments like avermectins, which basically mean that the dung is unusable by this fly. Anyway, yeah, it's a absolute beast of a fly. If you see one, you'll know about it. They're often seen sitting on kind of bare patches of ground, sunning themselves, because these are ambush predators. So they sit on the ground, warming up, and then when some of their prey flies past, they'll shoot up into the air and they'll grab a smaller insect out of the air using those long dangly legs. And devour them. This is another robber fly. So this is a much rarer one. There's a special one to Devon because it's called the Devon red-legged robber fly, and it has similar habits to the hornet robber fly. We think it's very rare, so we don't know quite so much about it. But it is found in south-facing slopes, and it's only known from a handful of sites in the UK. And one of those areas is South Devon. So these wonderful robber flies, they're really smart beasts. You know, they're powerfully built, they're bristly, and they have this amazing behavior of being these ambush predators that can fly up into the air rapidly and grab other insects out of the air and devour them. Another fly which is on our list is perhaps not so gruesome, rather attractive looking, is the Zipperback hoverfly. This is thought, the larvae of this hoverfly are thought to be associated with ants. So the hoverfly larva will go into an ant's nest. And this is a species which favors sunny, south-facing kind of coastal slopes. Often in clearings where it can be quite nice and sheltered and get nice and warm. So if you imagine, you know, on the coast, it's often very windy. So sometimes these little pockets of shelter can be incredibly important. So little clearings among the gorse or blackthorn scrub are ideal for this species. And, you know, it's thought that where it has been lost from places, it's because of the closing up of these open habitats. So if you lose the openness to bracken or scrub. So some of the work that we'll most likely be doing through Life on the Edge will be to create these clearings again, to clear back some of the bracken, to clear back some of the scrub, to create these open conditions on the coast. Lovely Lepidoptera. We will be working on some moths and butterflies. The silver-studded blue, which tends to be associated with more kind of heathy type habitats with lots of heather. The grayling butterfly, which used to be dead common. I remember seeing this a lot more when I was a kid. This is a butterfly that really likes those kind of open conditions again with bare ground. And the clearwing, the thrift clearwing moth, as well as another species, will hopefully be helping through this project. And then some hoppers. So the grey bush cricket is a species which is largely restricted to the south coast in the UK. You find it on cliffs and slopes. Again, associated with these open conditions, this open ground. It's a good-looking beast, and again, through the work of Life on the Edge, we're going to improve habitats for this species to make sure it thrives. Much less rare, but no less impressive is the great green bush cricket. And most of you have probably come across this thing. It's enormous. It's got to be one of our largest insects in the country. It is a real South Devon speciality. You go too far from South Devon and you won't find these things. Make a wonderful loud buzzing noise, and this bush cricket is associated with bits of scrub and hedgerows next to grassland. So you need all of these different kind of habitat features for this thing to thrive. But yeah, a wonderful, wonderful beast. And who doesn't love a bush cricket or grasshopper, eh? Not just insects, although that's what the title of the talk was, but of course there are some other invertebrates which are interesting on the South Devon coast as well. Here's one of them. This is the moon spider, Calilepis nocturna. This is quite a rare beast, so rare that I couldn't find a decent photo. So this one's a bit fuzzy. I do apologise. Perhaps during the project we can get a better photo of this one. This is a spider. It's a really good-looking spider, isn't it? It's a spider that you find on cliff faces, crawling around and grabbing its prey. So there's some of the species that make South Devon their home. Some of those special species, but they're all faced with problems, and nature really does need our help. Nature needs our help to thrive and to recover. Not all of the South Devon coast looks wonderful. Not all of it is full of wildflowers. Some of it is not a very friendly place for wildlife. In this example, we have arable farmland going right up to the cliff edge in some bits. So the species are increasingly restricted to a thin strip of habitat right on the cliff edge, right on the edge of the coast. And this can threaten the long-term survival of these species. But this also presents some opportunities. So there are opportunities here to restore the coast for wildlife. There are opportunities to restore wildflower habitats, to expand that narrow strip that we have on the coast, to allow these species to move inland, and to grow their populations, to reconnect the patches of habitat that we have left, enabling those species to move through our countryside more freely, to expand their populations and to colonize places from where they've been lost. In order to support nature's recovery, we need to make space for wildlife, basically. Crucially, we need to make the good habitat that is left bigger, better, and more joined up. It's as simple as that. And through Life on the Edge, that is our plan, basically. We are going to make our coast better for those rare species. We're going to be doing work that specifically targets those rare species to give them a brighter future. We're going to make those patches of fantastic coastal habitats bigger, and we're going to make them joined up. Restore sites where the wildflowers have gone. Working with local communities in managing some of that land. Of course, working in partnership with everyone, and I do mean everyone. So those of you who are listening tonight and would like to get involved, please get in touch with myself or Nikki or Adam. And of course, everyone can help. Everyone from planting things in your back garden to help bees and other insects, community gardens, community green spaces, schools, churchyards, road verges. The opportunities are enormous, and there's so much green space in South Devon that could be managed better for nature. So Life on the Edge will set these special species on the road to recovery. It's going to bring benefit to hundreds more. I do mean hundreds. We're going to bring local communities and visitors to the South Devon coast closer to the wonderful wildlife on our doorstep. And we're going to provide opportunities to help in nature's recovery. And we hope that you will be part of that story. Just a quick thanks. I'm drawing to the end of my talk. Just warning you, Nikki. Yeah, just thanks to everyone who's contributed to this work so far. So there are a lot of volunteers out there who help us to monitor some of these species, to do surveys, and have put a lot of hard work and contributed their expertise thus far. And we hope to continue to work with them through Life on the Edge. Special mention to Stephen Falk and John Walters, because I pretty much entirely used their photos in this talk. And they are amazing photos, and they help us to tell the stories of these amazing creatures, don't they? And thanks to the farmers and land managers who've helped us so far in the development of Life on the Edge. And yeah, to the AOMB for inviting me to talk tonight, and for you guys for listening. If you want to find out more about bug life, please visit our website, buglife.org.uk, where you can find more about some of these amazing invertebrates, and you can also join bug life if you like.